Good afternoon, ladies. It's literally just afternoon. It's 10 minutes after noon right now, and we're jumping in on the final section for this 2 weeks homework. This is the end of session 6, and we will start session 7 tomorrow. So today the focus is on page 48, and there's a section there, and it's the Go Deeper portion. And it's number 4, Paul's goal. And much like other days, I'm gonna kind of just share the thought she has with it, and then we're gonna jump to one question in particular to take away and focus on. So I'm gonna begin with, she says, Paul's goal here. Joe Saxton writes, as we've gone through this session, we've talked a lot about Paul's focus on eternity. But we have to remember that Paul's goal in life wasn't simply to get to the end. If that were his sole focus, he could have lost urgency of obeying Jesus in the present. And I would add that if that was God's goal, then we would just get saved and taken out, like if there's nothing to do here. So obviously there's beyond eternity, or not beyond eternity, but there's something to focus on besides just looking forward to eternity. So anyway, we can look back, she says, on Paul's words throughout Philippians and see a full view of the goal he talks about in Philippians 3:12 through 14. And then she asks us to read 2 other portions that we've already been through in chapter 1 and chapter 3. And she goes through some questions there. And they're really good questions, and I really do hope that you're doing them. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to jump down to the final question. And she says, what's one way you could practically care for another Christian this week? And so that in between questions that I'm hoping you're working through, I kind of showed you what that might look like at the beginning. So those questions there, she's talking about processing how it might have looked for Paul. Though he kept his focus on eternity, he also focused on the here and the now and what was in front of him, and that it was a daily habit, daily communion with Jesus, or interaction with Jesus. And then there's this idea of what does it look like to tell others about Jesus in your context. And then she lands, like I said, on this question: what's one way you could practically, in a practical way, could you care for another Christian this week? So just think about that. And I realize we're in quarantine, but I also realize we're a super creative people. I mean, you guys have heard them all. We've got drive-through birthday parties and weddings and graduations, and we've got people getting creative to drop things off on doorsteps, learning how to do stuff with technology. For me, I've made a lot of connection and time with phone calls, and that's what I wrote down: one-on-one visit with people, just over the phone or over Zoom. And you know, sometimes I think for me, we've gotten out of the habit of just like visiting on the phone, just for like no goal other than, hey, how are ya? What's happening in life? What's going on? Here's what's happening in mine. Just real connection. So that's been my focus, and that's the focus I'm actually have for this week, is just a one-on-one visit with someone. And maybe it could be someone that you're very close to and you don't get a lot of chance to, but it could also be, think of someone else, you know, that's maybe they don't have a lot of people in their house, or maybe the people in their house is not easy to live with, or maybe they do have a lot of people in their house and they need to talk to someone that's not there, or whatever the case may be. But what can you do this week in a practical way? What could it look like for you? What's in your hands to do? I'm going to finish with this story that stuck with me, and it's not my own. Beth Moore, if you're familiar with her, she talks about something that was so impactful to her. I don't remember what she was going through, but it was like a hard time, and she had been public about it. And a lady, and forgive me if I'm not quoting this just right, because I know some of you know it, but in this story, this true story, this lady knitted together, and I think they were little booties, like a baby's little like little foot, like socks, booties, kind of like a shoe for a baby. And she knitted them together, and she put them in a package, and she mailed them to Beth. And her husband, the lady's husband, the woman that made them, as she was doing that, the husband said, well, why are you sending her these? Because she's excited. She's like, I can't wait for her to get them. And he goes, well, is she having a baby, or someone she knows having a baby? And the woman the maker said, no baby. It's just what I do. And wow, doing what you do for the benefit of someone else. And Beth talks about it. She doesn't need those baby booties, but they have been impactful and meaningful, because out of the fullness of what this woman has a gift, she gave to another. So maybe we could stop measuring how we help or give to another of whether it's impacting or not. I promise you, if you give to someone else, there's impact, even if it's only on your own heart. Even if they don't receive it like you had hoped, or it doesn't seem big and great and noteworthy and somebody to talk about it on some platform. But it did impact yours. And I guarantee you, it impacted the heart of the Father, because he saw you loving someone else. That someone else is your sister or brother in Christ, all the more. There's nothing more joyful as a parent than to see your children loving one another. So, what do you want to do this week? What are you going to do this week? I look forward to hearing about it. I'd love if you'd comment below or back in the texts. But even if you don't, go out there or stay in there and find a way to be creative and to care for another Christian this week. Bless you. Love you. Have a great day. Bye.